Hi skiers, I'm Jeff from SkiEssentials.com.
And I'm Allie.
And we're here to do our first ever women's ski comparison video. Pretty exciting. We know you guys like these comparison videos and articles, so we decided we would kind of do a big, long women's 2019 comparison of kind of 90 millimeter all mountain skis. So I brought Allie in to help me because she is a woman and she's skied a lot of these skis behind me. Kind of an interesting concept that I'll touch on really quick. There's kind of two schools of thought with women's skis. Some companies make them the same as men's skis and kind of say, hey, women rip, they should have the same level skis as men. Some other companies kind of focus on the difference between men and women and say, women are physiologically different, so we should build their skis differently. So some of these are the same as the men's counterpoints. So I could argue that I've skied some of the skis behind me. So we might touch on that as we kind of run through these skis. And as usual, let us know if you have any questions about any particular model or anything that's not on this wall, because there's more in this category. So I'm going to start. This is the Elan Ripstick 96. You'll probably notice that I kind of organized these skis by width. So we're starting with the widest ski and we're going to end with the narrowest ski. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're starting with more soft snow performance and we're going to end with more firm snow performance. But you might see a trend as we run through. So widest ski on the wall, the Elan Ripstick. This thing is super, super light. Basically, it's a wood core with air channels. And then they use kind of carbon fiber rods along the edges of the ski. Really similar construction to the men's ski. Elan also has some really interesting stuff called amphibiotech. So there is a right and left ski. Essentially the flex pattern is different, whether it's your inside edge or outside edge. We won't get into that too much. But easily one of the lightest skis on the wall, the widest ski on the wall, and it uses quite a lot of early taper and rocker as well. So you add all those things up, and it turns into a really good soft snow ski. Definitely one with a distinctive freeride influence, which I think is something that we'll talk about again as we go through. Super maneuverable, really easy to throw around. Definitely not a fatiguing ski if you're kind of on a long day of skiing, really anywhere, east to west. You can ski the Ripstick all day long in any kind of terrain. It might not have the same like vibration damping and stability as some of the heavier skis with metal on this wall, but still really good, especially considering how light it is. So super fun in soft snow. The women in our ski test love this ski, so I think every single one of these skis was in our ski test, so check that out if you want more information. And that's the Elan Ripstick 94W. Allie, I'm going to let you talk about the Santa Ana 93.
All right, this is Nordica Santa Ana 93. It's 93 underfoot. As we were talking about before, this is just like the Enforcer 93, the men's version. The only difference is that the wood core inside is a little lighter, so it is going to be a little softer flex for those women that like that softer flex. There are some women that are going to like that Enforcer that's a little stiffer and a little heavier underfoot, and that's available for you in that Enforcer 93. The Santa Ana 92 has 2 sheets. 93 has 2 sheets of metal underneath, which gives it excellent vibration dampening and stability while at high speeds. The flex pattern and shape make it easy to release the tail when you're making those carving turns. It's a little heavier than the Ripstick that we were just talking about, which means it tracks better in that choppy conditions, but it really can do anything. This is one of those skis that's very versatile. It's smooth and it's stable at high speeds. It's really, truly for an aggressive skier who really likes metal in their skis.
Yeah, I think that was perfect. And something that I thought was an important point is that really these two skis are fairly similar in shape. You can see it in kind of the tip profile. So they're both designed for a similar thing. They both definitely perform really well in kind of off-piste terrain and softer snow conditions. It's really, you get the choice between, hey, do I want a lighter ski that's like super easy to throw around, or do I ski really fast and hard? Do I need that like stability and vibration damping of the metal? So already with the first two skis we looked at, you get kind of a choice and can kind of hone in on your own skiing style and pick what's best for you. Next up is the Volkl Secret, which I know Allie has skied because she was the featured skier in our Secret review.
And this is one of my favorite skis this year. It was just released. And the reason that it is my favorite, it has two tight strips of metal that go down the side of the ski, which allows for that metal to create a stiffer turn, but it also does not have the metal underfoot, which makes it a little more flexible into the turn. This ski is one of the most versatile skis out there. It is a true groomer. You can, rage on those groomers on this, but it really does well off track when you're moving into those choppy or powder conditions. With the waist width being a little bit wider than the Kenja ski in the previous years, it's going to give you a little bit better in those deeper and choppier conditions. It is definitely known for its edge grip out on the hill. This ski is for those ladies looking to carve hard on the on-piste and then also taking it into the woods and on that choppy powder ski.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of cool. Like on paper, if you were to look at the construction and even the shape, like side cut dimensions of these skis, pretty similar to the Santa Ana. To me, the Secret has a little bit more firm snow preference because of its shape, less rocker and less early taper. So like you were saying, it has phenomenal edge grip, kind of a longer effective edge than the Santa Ana. So maybe you have a race background, or maybe you just really like that kind of precise feel of a ski that holds an edge really well and that doesn't have a ton of kind of turned up tip rocker. Secret's awesome. M5 Mantra's awesome too. I know you've heard us talk about it before. Next up is the QST Lux 92.
So the difference is the Salomon QST is the same construction and waist width as the Secret, but it has a unique construction, which it relies on a wood core, carbon, flax, and metal. The partial metal laminate in the ski feels lighter than the Santa Ana and the Secret. It is definitely lighter. It's something that you could use as a touring setup, but you could also use just on trails. It transitions through turns differently in all the different conditions. It's got a nice variety of ski conditions. I think this is a great one quiver ski for most ladies out there. If you like those groomers, you're not as hard a charger as the Secret and the Santa Ana. This is a great ski that will take you everywhere on the mountain. Yeah,
pretty cool. In my opinion, fairly similar to the first comparison we made. Ripstick compared to Santa Ana. You do get a little bit more taper and rocker in the QST than you did in the Secret, but fairly similar goals out of those two skis. It's kind of just, again, coming down to the feel that you prefer, a little bit lighter out of the QST, a little bit easier to throw around, really light swing weight, so when you're kind of pivoting and maneuvering the ski, it works really, really well. So next up is the Sheeva 9. Pretty cool ski, brand new for 2019. You've probably seen us talk about the Rustler 9 quite a bit. The Sheeva 9 for women is very, very similar to the Rustler 9. There's a slight difference in the wood core, so this ski is a little bit lighter, but realistically you can basically consider them the same as the Rustler. Really interesting ski from Blizzard, and something that I touched on in the article is there's a different comparison between this ski and the Black Pearl 88 than on the men's side. On the men's side, kind of the ski we compare it to is the Brahma, which has a ton of metal. The Black Pearl doesn't have any, so we'll get to that. But essentially, the idea behind the Sheeva is it uses quite a bit of tip and tail rocker, quite a bit of early taper as well. So definitely a soft snow freeride inspired shape. But then you get this partial metal laminate underfoot. So another ski that's super versatile. It hits that same kind of 92 millimeters underfoot that we started at 94, now we're at 92, so not a huge difference there. So definitely another skier that kind of likes to do everything. I'd put this ski and I compare it to the Santa Ana and the Secret pretty often. I would say if you've kind of decided that you're in that category of a little over 92 underfoot and you want some metal in your skis, you might get kind of confused about, well, am I a Santa Ana person? Am I a Secret person? What's the deal here? I think the Sheeva is the most maneuverable out of those. Lightest swing weight because it doesn't have any metal in the tips and tails. The actual tip of the ski itself is really soft, so it's not going to get deflected. It's not going to kind of beat you up if you make a mistake and run it into a mogul. The Sheeva, on the other hand, really focuses on metal through the ends of the ski. Specifically, they don't put it in the middle of the ski like the Sheeva. So a little bit more precision out of that. And then the Santa Ana is full sheets of metal, but they're thin. So you get kind of a softer flex that's consistent from tip to tail. So I don't know. I think it's really cool that between these three skis, you have three different uses of metal, and it kind of results in three different types of performance. Next up is the Head Wildjoy. To me, this is starting to feel a little different than some of the skis we've looked at so far. You don't see much early taper in this ski. You don't see much rocker in this ski at all. So quick look at the shape. It's a little bit more of a firm snow-oriented shape, but at 90 millimeters underfoot, it's definitely not a slouch in soft snow conditions. It's super light. I handed this ski to Allie, and she was pretty blown away by how light it is. Really unique construction head skis right now. They use choroid and graphene, so you don't see any metal in them. Graphene is actually the lightest and strongest material known to mankind, which is kind of cool. And I think that's why these skis hit such a light overall weight. So we've talked about this before in men's comparison articles, but when you get a ski that has good torsional stiffness like this and is also very lightweight, it makes it very responsive. I would say that the skier that's going to like the Wildjoy most probably spends most of their time on groomers and really likes kind of linking rhythmic carving turns, or even kind of rhythmic kicked out slightly pivoting carving turns, or a slarv. These skis do that really, really well. Head puts a skin clip attachment point on it, which to me is kind of a nod to how light it is. You could definitely use this as an alpine touring ski, although keep in mind that its shape is not going to be the most forgiving or the most maneuverable in soft snow conditions. Next up is the Atomic Vantage 90 Ti. This is one that's actually, going back to the Wildjoy real quick, these are really two really cool skis to talk about one after another. The Wildjoy is totally different than anything they do for men. Head makes their own shapes, their own construction. Everything is unique to women for the Wildjoy. The Vantage 90 Ti, on the other hand, is identical to the men's ski. So like we were talking about when we started this article, there's totally quite a bit of variety in just how manufacturers think about women's skis, and this is a pretty perfect example of that. The Vantage is another one that falls into that lightweight and ultra-responsive category. Definitely more of a groomer shape than anything else. We talked about it in the men's comparison article. This thing is super stiff. And again, given how light it is and how stiff it is, it's going to be very, very responsive. So to me, when you get a ski that's this stiff and has this high level of torsional stiffness, so it's going to hold an edge really well, you should have a pretty accomplished skiing ability. You should use good terrain or technique, because if you're not, the ski's kind of going to beat you up a little bit. But on the other end of the spectrum, if you're an accomplished skier with, if you have a racing background and you just love laying down ripping carving turns and you just don't want the weight of metal on your feet, this ski absolutely rips. It's mind-blowing when you feel it and feel the weight in your hand and then go ski it. It's insanely powerful and insanely stiff. So honestly, right up there among the most powerful skis on this wall. I'd put it right there with the Secret in terms of edge grip and overall power. It's just got a lighter feel that's more responsive, while the Secret has kind of that damp, smooth feel that comes along with metal. Okay, so we're through the first 7 skis, and now we're going to move on to the other side of the sign here with the Blizzard Black Pearl 88. So we mentioned it before when we looked at the Sheeva. The Black Pearl 88 is, it's more of a cambered shape than the Sheeva, less rocker, less early taper, more of a firm snow performance. But this ski is, if we were to compare it to men's ski, is way lighter than a ski like the Brahma with 2 sheets of metal. This is wood core and carbon is kind of how this ski is constructed and where the performance come from. And Allie, I know you've skied this ski, and I think this is a really good one. Even though they're different in width, I think this is a good one to compare to the Secret. So what do you think, skiing the Black Pearl compared to skiing a Secret?
So I find the Black Pearl to be one of the most versatile skis out there for a wide range of women.
Yeah.
From my mom, who is in her 70s, to even me, who is, strong with a race background. I love this ski. It's super light without that metal. It's responsive in the snow. It really does truly love the groomers. I think that's the biggest difference. The Secret is a little bit better off-piste in the cruddy stuff, or even in the powder. It's got a little bit more float than this one. But for the average skier skiing in the resort, this is an amazing ski. The lightness of it, you're not going to tire out your legs. It does handle crud well, not as well. Without that metal, you're definitely not going to get that dampening of the vibrations with this ski. But it does handle well in those conditions. It's got an easy release in the heel, so it makes turning a breeze.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with the fact that the Black Pearl, it's really approachable for a wide range of skiers. It's the most popular women's ski in the world, and I think a big reason for that is you can be kind of a more timid, even intermediate skier. Maybe you only ski a handful of times a year. Like you brought up your mom. I put my mom on a Black Pearl 88 once, and she was like blown away by how good she was skiing, and I kind of was too. Again, lifelong skier, but she's in her 60s and not super aggressive anymore.
A little bit more forgiving.
So yeah, just an awesome ski. If you're going out with the family and cruising groomers, it's an absolute blast, and then you can take it and ski some moguls, ski some trees. Definitely a versatile ski. You won't out-ski it unless you're like really upper echelon for aggressiveness and skill level. This is an interesting ski. Every time the Legend series comes up in these comparison articles, I think it's really important to note that they use drastic amounts of early taper. So something that I said in the men's comparison article is I even call this 5-point side cut. It's funny because Blizzard, Dynastar does too every once in a while, but you don't actually see them list the 5 different side cut dimensions. But they throw out that term of 5-point side cut every once in a while. And the ski's also super stiff. You might notice it's a system ski. You can get this as a flat ski too, but it is available with an integrated binding system. So what do you get when you combine a ski that's really stiff with this kind of 5-point side cut, super early tapered shape? To me, it's a ski that's maneuverable, that is great in moguls, great in trees, great anywhere where you need to pivot the ski and kind of release the tail edge. But at the same time, it's not going to be exceptionally forgiving if you're going back to kind of that timid intermediate. The ski is stiff enough that it might kind of be a little bit too much for you. But on the other end of the spectrum, if you want that maneuverability, if you want that off-trail performance, you're going to get it out of this shape. But then, say, going back to a ski like the Santa Ana, you also get quite a bit of power out of it too. Different than the Santa Ana. The Santa Ana has that smooth, even, damp flex, where the Legend is stiffer, so it's going to be a little bit more responsive. But to me, that same concept. It's kind of the shape is focusing on maneuverability, while the construction and the stiffness kind of gives it a little bit more power than some of the other skis that we've seen on this wall. Make sense to you?
It does. I can't wait to try the ski this year.
Yeah, I think we should. We've never actually done a full in-depth review of any of the Dynastar Legend skis, and I think that's something that we'll do really soon here.
All right, next we're moving on to the Rossignol Experience 88 Ti. And as we were discussing with a few other skis, this is identical to the men's version. They're not even really declaring it a women's ski. They're calling it the blue version.
Yeah, that we saw our Rossignol rep recently, and he was even saying, you know, this is a pretty gender neutral color.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't think of this before, but he brought up like a teenage boy.
Yeah.
That, you know, if the men's or Experience doesn't have a short enough length, this is
And even the women's can go to the men's version. The only difference is the colorway and the size options. What's great about this ski is the new line technology that Rossignol has put into it. Makes the ski, it's a metal band that goes straight through the core. Makes it a little bit more stable through grooming turns, and then the vibration dampening as well on those groomers. The new shape is more versatile than the previous line of the Temptations. They're no longer doing the Temptation line. They're just doing an Experience in another colorway for the female versions. It handles well on aggressive ski conditions, but it's also very forgiving on those ungroomed, untracked areas. Again, it's another ski, like I was saying, a wide range of skiers. It does have that metal, so it's going to be a little bit more stiff than, say, the Black Pearl, but it is going to, handle well for most skiers ranging from intermediate to advanced. People are really going to love this one. Compared to the Black Pearl, it's a little stiffer, as I said, but the shape of the tip makes that turn initiation much easier. It's that great one ski quiver. If someone just needs that one ski that's going to take them from front side to back side, this is a very exceptional ski.
Yeah, much like the Black Pearl 88 in the sense that a lot of different people can ski it, and you can ski it in a lot of different snow conditions and terrain and that kind of stuff. And
it's still pretty light as well with that metal going through there.
Yep, definitely. Okay, so we got 3 skis left. We had to take a quick break there because I cut my finger on a ski edge. Everything's okay. I'm going to make it. This is the K2 Alluvit 88 Ti. Very similar to what we see in the men's Pinnacle collection. Basically the same overall concepts here. And if you notice, we're kind of in a trend of, we've hit, this is the 4th ski in a row that's 88 millimeters underfoot. Another one that's a super versatile ski, and another one that uses metal in kind of an interesting way. So if you remember going back to those skis earlier where we were talking about how metal is used differently, K2 positions it along the edges of the ski. It kind of tapers as it reaches the tip and tail. And I would say as the metal tapers, so does the tip shape change into a rockered, early tapered tip shape. So you combine those two things and you get a ski that's really, really good in soft snow. I often say this about the Pinnacle series, but I think this is like one of the smoothest skis on the wall. It's not going to catch an edge anywhere because of the rocker and early tapered shape. So if you're pivoting and smearing turns, it does that really smooth. But then if you're carving on firm snow, the metal kind of comes into play and dampens the ski and smooths it out. So to me, just a smooth ski. I've said this before, but I think a fantastic stow ski. You could kind of rip some groomers in the morning and then take it onto like centerline or nosedive and ski some moguls, get off trail a little bit.
I think it's a great ski for that lady that wants something a little bit more forgiving, but they've been skiing a long time. You're maybe not an expert, but you're up there. You like skiing. You like the act of the real turn edge to edge, but you also want to be able to go through the crud as well. It's going to be a little bit more forgiving than some of the skis with the full metal in them.
Yeah, exactly. That's the perfect way to put it, is that it's just, you get the performance benefits of metal, but they kind of up the forgiveness by not putting the metal in the tips and tails, kind of only using it along the edges, and then giving it this fairly rockered, early tapered shape. So next up, this is the DPS Uschi 87 Alchemist, which is kind of a mouthful, but a really cool ski. This is kind of a new collection from DPS in general. They've never really focused on firm snow skis before, and this Uschi line is kind of the first, or the men's version is the Cassiar line, which we've talked about a little bit. So definitely, you can kind of, just looking at it, you can kind of see some DPS heritage. There is a little bit of early taper in the tip, or at least it's kind of an elongated tip shape. There's a fair amount of tip rocker, but not a ton. What I'll point out about this ski, and something that we mentioned looking at, say, like the Atomic Vantage and the Wild Joy, its construction is really focused on being lightweight, arguably more than anything else up here. DPS uses, well, their newest construction, Alchemist, is really rooted in carbon fiber for its performance, and it's not just any kind of carbon fiber, it's like aerospace grade carbon fiber, so it's really crazy. Like the type of carbon that goes into the ski is basically vibration tuned, so you get kind of the damping properties that normally come along with metal, but in a much, much lighter ski. And you might be thinking to yourself, that sounds expensive, and I will quickly say that this is the most expensive ski on the wall. Oftentimes when you get that kind of, a new type of construction, or that kind of upper echelon in technology, it comes along with a price tag. But you get really cool performance out of this ski, because it'll hold an edge really well. It's light, so it's not fatiguing. Fantastic mogul ski, with the kind of fairly significant taper in the tail. It's going to allow you to pivot that tail pretty easily. I think there's a lot of things you could do with the Uschi.
I think it personally would be a great, again, one quiver ski, but maybe that lady that wants to try uphill touring, this would be a great touring setup, but it also obviously is a great resort ski. You could recommend the Shift, Salomon Shift binding, or the Atomic Shift binding. It's a great binding that also allows uphill skiing, but it is a great resort binding as well. It has that, it works like a traditional binding.
Yeah. Probably not like a powder touring ski.
No, more of an East Coast.
Yeah, like if you go up here at Stowe, if you go up to the mountain at like 6:30 in the morning, there's like 100 cars in the parking lot these days.
Touring.
So if you're kind of if you live on the East Coast, or if you're just not seeking out powder, but you want a touring ski, I think the Uschi would be a really cool one, because you can just rip turns on the way down.
Yeah, and then when the lift opens, you jump right on the lift with the same skis without having to change it out. Yeah,
absolutely. So last ski, I really like ending on this ski, because
it's pretty different from the rest of them.
It's fairly different than the rest of them for a few reasons. So, Allie, would you say that this is the girliest graphic?
Probably.
Or it's got to be right up there among the girliest
black
graphic.
Pearl,
a lot of pink on the ski, very bright colors. So if I walked into a ski shop and I didn't know anything about this, and I looked at it on the wall, I would think this is kind of like an intermediate level all mountain ski. This thing rips. There's quite a bit of metal in this ski. It's not super stiff, but you get the performance benefits of metal. I think this was one of the skis in our ski test that surprised people the most, and kind of very similar to a company like DPS. Armada is traditionally not focused on firm snow skis. They're more of a free ride, kind of freestyle company, but this thing it's a real deal ski. Quite a bit of tip rocker, but not a ton of early taper. So when it's on edge, you get really long edge contact, unlike some of the skis, say like the Legend. When you put the Legend on edge, you lose kind of this tip part of the edge. That's not going to happen with the Armada, especially if you achieve a high edge angle. So you get the benefits of tip rocker. So if you tip it on edge, it's going to kind of help you enter a turn, but then you retain a really long, consistent edge contact. There's no taper in the tail either. So again, you get kind of that full length edge contact. Combine that with the sheet of metal, and this thing lays over some really pretty carving turns. Just smooth, even carving turns, and not something that we traditionally expect out of Armada. So really cool, and I think a good way to kind of sum up this ski is you can think about all the different options that Armada has. So they have twin tips, they have lighter skis that are kind of around the same width. So this one's really kind of focused on that firm snow performance. Definitely a really cool ski from Armada, and one that I am impressed by its performance. It's a partial vertical sidewall ski, so again, another kind of construction element or design element that you might look at and think, meh, that's a soft flexing noodle of a ski, but it's not. Armada just has kind of an innovative partial sidewall, partial cap construction technique, but it still retains really strong torsional stiffness. So definitely a ripping ski. It's not heavy by any means, but it's stable, it's responsive, it performs well. It's the narrowest ski on this wall right next to the DPS, so really quick edge to edge. But you know, it would do great in moguls too. Not quite as easy as the Uschi because of the different tail shape, but on the opposite end of the spectrum, it'll kind of complete a carving turn a little bit better. So that's it. I think we hit all 13 of these women's skis. Thank you, Allie, for joining us. You were great, and
Glad to be here.
I appreciated your insight on some of these skis that I haven't skied. I think between the two of us, we've easily skied all of them. So again, let us know if you have any questions about any of these skis. If you want to compare certain models that you didn't hear us compare directly to each other, definitely let us know. Or if there's anything else on this article that anything else in this category that's not on this wall, rather, that you're interested in, definitely let us know, and we'll respond to your comment as soon as we can. We're going to do a women's 100 millimeter comparison article too, so keep an eye out for that in the coming weeks, and we will see you on the slopes.
See you soon.